So I wanted to do this video because I was talking to a friend and he basically was like, I've been watching your content on Instagram and it's just so crazy because I dealt with a female like what you described. And it was just crazy the amount of control that she wanted to have and just all of, fill in the blanks with, what my content is about. And I was explaining to him that, absolutely men and women both can be narcissists. And I was like, this is the part I have not even tapped into with my content is my perspective on it. Because I told him, I said, as humans here having a human experience, I wholeheartedly believe that we all possess some form of narcissistic characteristics, but it's to what extent. And I say that because we have imprints, conditioning, all kinds of genetics, epigenetics that have an effect on us. And I believe all of those combined create different levels of narcissism within all of us. But again, it goes back to what extent. And I told him, I said, I don't want to come from the perspective of I haven't done anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong in my last marriage. I'm waving the white flag every time I put out content because that is not true. Like I said, I believe all of us to a certain extent can look back and be like, ooh, I was a little controlling, or my motive in sending that text was probably manipulative, or, we can put ourselves in these different categories. But of course, what sets normal is what I'm going to use for the sake of the word. What sets us apart from normal versus, okay, this is now abnormal. This is now a disorder. This is now something that is classified as something that needs a label or some type of treatment, is the extent of what you're doing, the characteristic that you're exhibiting. And that's why I also see it as onion layers. Because when you get into like, okay, how do I keep attracting these people? And this was something else that him and I talked about, how do I keep attracting these people? And it's like, if you go back and think about your parents, think about anybody that had a heavy presence in your life, talking coaches, teachers, childcare providers, friends, just anybody that had the ability to leave some type of imprint, some type of form of conditioning on you, you could probably think back and be like, oh, my mom exhibited some heavy narcissistic traits. My coach was very manipulative. My childcare provider was very, just this, and keep filling in the blanks. And it'll start to make sense on, why am I reacting this way? Why do I believe this about that? Why do I keep attracting this or that? And that's what I've come to discover over the years, that, simple therapy is cool. Absolutely. But when you start to really want to get down to the foundation of issues and you really want to tackle like the root of the problem, we're talking shadow work. We're talking things that most people will call woo-woo, but it's always up to each individual person. How far do you want to take your healing? How deep do you want to go? And for me, I do the traditional therapy and the coaching. I have my own therapist, my own life coaches. I read a lot of books. I watch a lot of videos. And I've also opened up myself to different modalities. And that's understanding human design. That's understanding astrology. It's understanding the human from a scientific perspective, and most definitely a spiritual perspective. And I told my friend, I said, with all of that combined, you might as well call me an Avenger. Because at this point, it's like I'm equipped so strong on so many different fronts. It's like, I'm not saying I won't ever slip up. I'm not saying I won't ever stumble or fall or find myself in a situation like, dang, how did that get past my radar? But truth be told, though, I don't have an excuse on why I would continue to circle certain mountains, because I do have that knowledge. I do have that understanding. I do have that, okay, I'm going to do the inner work. Why am I getting jealous about something right now? Let me pinpoint what that is. And then let me do the work to really get underneath all of the onion layers so I can get to the point where it's like, I don't want to control another human being. I don't want to control another person. If you're with me, you're with me. If you want to leave, you can leave. There is no like, well, let me be controlling and manipulative to try to keep you around, or, let me just keep reacting in this way because I don't know any better. Once you know better, you definitely have to do better. And at this point, I'm preaching, but I just wanted to do this video because I don't think I've ever really like given my perspective on this whole matter of narcissism and my own human experience with it. So, you got any questions though, ask and I will do a video about it.